So let's get right to the bottom line. I assume people are interested in being data driven because they think it's going to make them more money, not just because it's cool and they want to nerd out with Brent, Derek, and I. So the bottom line, data usability, customer retention, AI, ML enablement. There are more benefits than these to building a data warehouse or generally being data driven, but these are some of the ones with the most studies I could find. So I could give you real data and not just make stuff up. So let's get into data usability a little bit. University of Texas study found that if the median Fortune 1000 company increased data usability by just 10%, their revenue would increase by $2 billion on average. Companies that place an emphasis on data see 6% increase in revenue, again, on average. Customer retention, everyone knows about Netflix. Netflix has published that they've saved over $1 billion a year on customer retention by leveraging their customers' data. Data-driven companies are also 23 times more likely to acquire customers than their peers. And then finally, AI ML enablement. It's very hard, if not impossible, to enable AI and ML without a data warehouse. And companies that have adopted AI or machine learning and at least one business function saw an average increase of 66% in revenue for that business function. So there's just some data points to, kind of tell the story that there's very large financial incentives to invest in this. Okay, so we know the financial incentives, but what is the problem that you're going to face trying to reach those financial incentives? Well, one of the first ones is your disparate data sources. Your data is spread across your CRM, your point of sale, and various other operational and marketing vendors. Your franchisees often aren't even standardized on one of those. We've seen that in almost all of our customers. Inconsistent data quality. There are a few quality standards that you have in place, leaving it to franchisees and a few spreadsheet or SQL heroes to make sense of it all. So I'm sure that all of you have been there. You need someone who really knows their spreadsheets or their SQL to comb through your data to find insights, and it's very time consuming. There's no data model, which means you don't have really your customer journey. Even after you get all your data into a spreadsheet, you can't ask why your leads became customers or what the most likely or profitable journey through your business was, which is a question you probably want to answer. So again, you can make more money. And your spreadsheets don't scale. So meaningful data analytics and artificial intelligence, machine learning require clean historical data over many years that can be queried at scale. They also often require access to PII and thus careful consideration of data security. Your spreadsheets don't satisfy either of those requirements. So that's not all of your problems, but I think the biggest ones.
In our situation, 5-star situation, we have six home service brands with various systems. Data was all over the place. And in some cases, it still is. And we have to make a lot of business changes, process changes, and even partner changes to bring that data into the data warehouse. But we had to start somewhere, right? So to kind of circle back to my earlier comment, like we feel an alignment from the top down that this is a strategic, ultra important part of the value that we can bring to the franchisees as well as to our shareholders by creating this asset in the organization. And so it has taken quite a bit of investment, and it's gone slower than I think everybody would like it to, but I think that's just the nature of these things. It's required a lot of business change, like process change within the brands. We're just now getting the visibility to truly have an intelligent conversation, a data-driven conversation with the franchisees and help them make accurate decisions, not just anecdotal or how they're feelings, but really what the data is telling us and where we need to go with that.
So what is the solution at a high level? Well, the industry has come up with a solution. Obviously, we're going to get into it in a bit, but at a high level, you need to secure your data in one place. So the sooner you set up integrations from your disparate data sources into a central repository, the bigger history you will build and be able to leverage. Data security is far easier in a central repository than across many spreadsheets. So if you get all your PII in one central location, it's much easier to put in the security controls there, so you don't face plant on data security with your customers. Build a data model. So a lead and a customer are both a person, which isn't defined in your systems. You must first define your business nouns that allow you to ask the right questions in order to get meaningful answers. Enforce quality standards. If your data is centralized, you can start to define and enforce data quality standards. Just because your point of sale lets your franchisees' employees enter a $30 billion sale doesn't mean that you have to. So you don't have to let dirty data into what you're reporting off of. And then ask questions at scale. So centralizing your data allows you to put it on a scalable infrastructure, such as a cloud native solution, Now you can ask questions about the entire history of your business and get answers in seconds using simple languages like SQL. Now let's learn what the solution looks like, what the industry has settled on. And it is the data warehouse, which again is why we're here today. So as Christian eloquently put it, is your business's memory. But to get down into a little bit more nitty gritty than the analogy, let's take a look at a simple example, marketing campaigns. So without a data warehouse, you may continue to cycle through the same campaigns and not really know which ones are working best because you don't have immediate access to that data. And although this is a simple example in marketing where you probably have UIs, this is just an example I would think would resonate with the people here. Similar examples apply across your operational data. With the data warehouse, you could very quickly visualize your data, and again in seconds, and see campaign two is the only one that actually makes money. So you can settle on campaign two and continue to run that one. What are the components of a data warehouse? First, you have your integrations. That's where it all starts. Integrations should be scheduled, usually daily. Depends on the industry, really. Sometimes it's needs to be real time. If you're a restaurant, for example, with every system. Many facilitated with an ETL tool like Fivetran. There are many out there. Some often require custom code. So, the ETL tools that are out there are not going to be able to handle every integration for you. You also need a centralized, scalable storage system. This is usually on cloud infrastructure, such as Azure or AWS or GCP, and a model that facilitates data quality, replaying history, and the data transformations required by your business rules. And the industry has more or less settled on the medallion architecture, which we'll get into on a future slide. And then to get in a little bit into the storage mechanism that we discussed as one of the components, we lean toward the cloud. And here's why. Storage is incredibly cheap in the cloud. I think everyone knows that. But one of the other things that you may not know is compute can be scaled to your hourly business needs to save significant costs compared to on-prem deployments. Building a data warehouse, it's easy. Maintaining a data warehouse is not. So a lot of the cost you'll see is actually in maintaining a data warehouse. The initial build is easy by comparison. How do you visualize your data? Is it the same across marketing and operations? Is it the same for corporate and franchisees? It's easy to build a data warehouse for one department that fails to meet the needs of others. So it's important to consider everyone that's going to be consuming the data warehouse from the beginning. Your visualizations are only as good as your data, but your data often has little value without the right visualization. So even after you built the history, you still need to figure out the tools that will allow you to learn from that history. And then costs. So the majority of your costs are actually going to be in human resources. Even if you go with a data warehouse as a service, the hidden costs that they're charging you for are going to be the resource costs. And that is because typically you'll need one or more data engineers, a data architect, a BI developer or data analyst, or multiple, depending on how large your business is, and a cloud infrastructure or security administrator. And you can certainly get away with merging some of these roles. But again, you're looking at least $250K a year in resource costs. All right, so what are the next steps? Now we know, hopefully, what a data warehouse is. What do we do next? Well, we can start immediately with asking questions of our business. What is the best time to sell a service? Could you charge more during that time? Is the answer the same for every franchisee? Are there patterns based off geography, market size, or average home value? These are the type of questions that you want to have in mind because that's what a data warehouse will help you answer. And if you don't have those questions, then a data warehouse is not going to provide much value to you. Data discovery. What data do you need to answer those questions? Where does it live today? How could you access it on a scheduled basis? And is it easy to compare one franchisee to another? Again, these questions, answering them will help you on the path to start building a data warehouse. And then software tools. It's far easier to get data, for a simple example, from QuickBooks Online than it is QuickBooks Desktop. Choosing the right software tools and standardizing them across your franchise network is required to realize most of the benefits of a data warehouse. And then finally, data quality. Are all your franchisees using the same chart of accounts? For example, within QuickBooks. You don't need a data warehouse to start adopting and enforcing data quality standards.
Franchising is a highly regulated industry, and there are a lot of compliance rules, and there's a lot of reporting requirements, especially when selling new franchisees. And it's my belief that the data warehouses will actually help franchises create defensible FTDs and create defensible item 19s. And having that audit trail is going to be highly important if there's ever an issue that arises in the future. That audit trail and the metadata of why a decision was made and how things were reported will help franchises kind of defend against those issues that arise from those things.
And then finally, the summary, your data is an asset. It can be leveraged to significantly increase your bottom line. However, the cost of leveraging that data without a data warehouse is often prohibitive. Again, it's going to be resource costs if you try to do it with a data warehouse, and it's going to be a lot more in resource costs trying to get, people to get all that data manually. Realizing the full benefits of becoming a data-driven franchise requires your data to be centralized, cleaned, and modeled to answer your most important questions. it requires a data warehouse.
We have struggled in being more uniform in how we enter data and having more data available more easily to make business decisions. So right now we're in the process of creating a data warehouse, which everyone on our side is extremely excited about, to centralize all their data.